Hello, hello. I am Matt Truman from Truman's Town Hall. This is the Red Rooster from the Gospel Message. Cut the music. All right. Waylon, the Red Rooster,
Yes.
welcome. It's been a while since we did a Sunday Night Live. Hope everybody's doing well out there. How are you?
I'm doing very
Rooster?
well. Doing very well. It does seem like it's been forever since we've been on.
I know it.
A lot has went on since we went live. A lot.
So much.
Yeah.
I
So we've
tried to
got
cover it. Yeah, I tried to cover it over on the podcast, Truman's Town Hall podcast, but it just keeps coming. It doesn't stop. You got
it's
UFOs,
crazy.
you got Chinese balloons, you got train wrecks, you got World War III. You have revivals that last for 900 days.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, there's a lot going on. And whoever's going to be watching, we're going to keep this up for the live. We want you to come on tonight. We want to hear your side, your opinion, whatever we're talking about. Just feel free to copy and paste this, and we have to refresh them, Matt. They just copy and paste, put this into their web browser, right? And it should bring them right to us, right?
That's it. Yep.
That's
the
it.
code.
Okay.
It says join the broadcast and type in HTTPS. You type all that in and you're in. That's it. That's all you have to do.
Sounds good.
I'm just going to share this on a couple different places.
Bring us a clip. You got a clip to open us up?
Yeah, I do. Let's open up first. Yeah, this is pretty wild.
Okay.
There was a bishop, a Catholic bishop. I'm Catholic. That was murdered in Los Angeles. So I was just going to play that today.
Oh wow!
So let me bring this puppy up real quick.
This morning, parishioners in a Los Angeles community are in shock after an auxiliary bishop was killed in what is now being investigated as a suspicious death.
To pray for all the people who are buried here.
Bishop David O'Connell of the Archdiocese of Los Angeles was shot around 1 p.m. in a home in the Los Angeles suburb Hacienda Heights, according to officials.
He was so soft-spoken. He was a humble soul. He was not the type that would have confrontations with nobody.
O'Connell was pronounced dead on the scene.
Deputies from the industry sheriff station received a call here, an assist fire call of a person not breathing and bleeding.
O'Connell was a prominent leader in the community for 45 years. Archbishop Jose H. Gomez, who knew O'Connell, calling him a peacemaker with a heart for the poor and the immigrant. And the shooting death of the Catholic bishop coming just days after 2 men were shot leaving synagogues in Los Angeles. Police calling that shooting hate crimes, saying the alleged gunman who was in custody targeted both victims because they are Jewish. Many parishioners felt moved to go to Bishop O'Connell's home last night. They said prayers and they shared memories, but they also had a lot of questions.
All right. So I wanted to bring that up because
that's horrible. I had no idea.
I think there's a lot of persecution going on. Not just with Catholics and the Jews, but everywhere you look, really.
Oh yeah, it's going to get worse and worse. America's been blessed. We've not had that bad of a persecution. Many other countries have been a lot worse than us a long time ago. But yeah, that's horrible. Sure. I didn't know till you brought that out tonight. That's pitiful.
Yeah, so we got that little clip. Let me we'll just keep chugging away here at the beginning here with some news items. This is we're talking about World War III. Waylon, have you thought about World War III?
I just don't want it to happen, Matt. That's about it. Yeah.
Me neither. Me neither, brother.
Well, joining us now to discuss this further is retired Air Vice Marshal Sean Bell. Hi again, Sean. It's really interesting, isn't it? The Polish president meeting Western leaders in London today. Certainly, they've increased their defence spending significantly in the last few weeks. And understandably, Eastern European countries are a lot more worried about this war than perhaps Western European countries.
Absolutely. But it is interesting why the Polish leader, Duda, is seemingly at the forefront of all this. He was visiting Rishi Sunak ostensibly to talk about the support to the Ukraine conflict. But that was following a visit to the NATO Secretary General Stoltenberg, where he was looking at how do you bolster the defence on the eastern flank of NATO as well. But all of this is the Russian invasion of Ukraine was just not anticipated by the West. And there's lots of NATO countries. NATO was a bit in the doldrums. A lot of countries were not paying their way. Suddenly, this invasion's on their doorstep, and they desperately need to find ways not just to increase defence spending, but to create credible military capability. Let's look at Poland in particular. They're looking at the geography of the place. Now, if the war, Putin's invaded Ukraine, but it's pretty clear that his ultimate ambition is to restore the Soviet Union.
Sure.
And if we look at a map, clearly we've got Belarus here, which is already in Putin's pocket. If he's invaded Ukraine, depending on how the outcome of that comes, the next countries on the front line are Estonia off the top there, Latvia, Lithuania, and then Poland. And so it's no great surprise that Poland has had a massive increase in defence spending, but it's also really interested in how you translate that money into credible deterrence military capability. And that's the challenge. These diplomatic efforts will continue once he leaves the UK. I think on the 20th to the 22nd of this month, President Biden's visiting Poland. All of that is trying to increase focus on how Poland enhances its deterrence capability.
Okay.
All right. So I wanted to play that little clip. So I did a broadcast on my podcast. I want to say it was a few months before the war actually started in Ukraine. I believe, this is my belief, we're going to see a lot of suffering here in the United States because of this war. I think it's going to come here. That's just something I believe. That's just what I'm watching and trying to learn different things and seeing all the movements of military vehicles. We're not giving all that stuff
what do you
to
mean,
Ukraine.
What do you mean come here? Like literally? Or are you talking about
literally?
Really?
We're about to go into World War III.
Wow.
Unless, this is my opinion, unless some major peace talks begin, because Russia's getting ready to ramp up a big offensive over in Ukraine.
We're coming up on the year anniversary, right?
Right. It's only been a year.
Yeah.
We fought Afghanistan for 20 years. We were in Afghanistan for 20 years. Yeah, we're coming up on a year with Ukraine and Russia.
Tell me if I'm wrong. Didn't we leave just about as much as far as a price tag on our weapons in Afghanistan as we've given to Ukraine? Am I somewhat close there?
Close. Yeah, I think it was 81 billion we left.
Oh, is it that much?
71, 81. I don't know. That's just a number that's popping into my head.
I didn't know it was that much.
Yeah. So there's that. Let me play another
and
news
Biden's
story.
Supposed to go to Poland, right?
Yeah, Biden's going to go to Poland.
Yeah.
That's going to stir some things up.
Yeah. I think he no-showed them.
Biden's going to Poland, and this week Putin's going to be delivering a big speech. Some are suggesting that he is going to declare official war. Like right now, we call it a war. But what it is Putin calls it a special military operation. When they declare war, they're going to break out all their big guns. So this year, next year, and the following year, you have that Air Force colonel or general calling for war with China, saying war with China will happen around 2025, 2027, in between there. So, there's that.
So now we've got China balloons. Do we have any Russian balloons going on, or is it?
Oh, I'm sure we got Russian balloons. Yeah, I'm sure there's Russian balloons, Iranian balloons. I'm sure there's all balloons are cheap and easy. And if we spend $80, $1,000 to shoot one down. They're over there laughing at us.
Oh yeah, it's ridiculous.
Anyway,
What's this one? What do you got here?
so have you heard about the train derailment over in East
Yes,
Palestine, Texas? Well, this is the latest. So it's coming down.
Ohio.
Yeah, it's coming down into our neck of the woods now, the Ohio River. Our Miami and Little Miami, it bleeds into the Ohio River, but I think we may be safe in our area. Who knows? We'll see. But here's a story out of Cincinnati talking about what they're preparing for from the aftermath that we're left with from, the Biden administration, the DeWine administration, all these yahoos who really don't care about the people. What they care about is, getting that train moving.
Cincinnati and northern Kentucky are taking steps now to address concerns about water safety. Thanks for joining us at 6 o'clock. I'm Cherie Palella. We've been leading the way on this developing story for more than 2 weeks now after that train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Now, early this morning, when the plume of chemicals moved through our area, local water providers shut off water intake from the Ohio River. WLWT News 5's Danielle Dindak live for us along the river tonight with the very latest. So Danielle, recently detected a compound in the water, but they're still saying that our water quality is safe. Is that correct?
That's exactly correct, Cherie. And so just moments after we got the word that there was a compound detected in our water, we met with Greater Cincinnati Waterworks, who told me that it was detected upstream. So that's very important. It was detected upstream. It's not in any of the water intakes here locally, and our water intakes remain closed. But I want to walk you back to the very beginning. And so the train derailment happened more than 2 weeks ago in East Palestine and released chemicals that spilled into the water there. The chemical crews have been closely tracking, and that was butyl acrylate. That plume traveled down the Ohio, and out of precaution, Greater Cincinnati Waterworks and Northern Kentucky Water District closed water intake this morning at 2 a.m. and switched to reserves. Also happening this morning, another chemical, 2-ethyl-1-hexylene, was detected miles upstream, GCWW intakes, and that chemical is commonly used in flavorings and fragrances. I spoke with GCWW about what this means for our water.
We're doing everything we can to make sure the water's safe. Our intakes are shut down right now, so the intent is to do that is to allow that chemical to go by in the river, and then we don't even bring it into the plant. Some of the studies that we've been doing so far, though, is even if we would bring some of it in, our treatment process is very well set up to remove this type of compound.
So the bottom line here tonight is that both reserves in northern Kentucky and here in Greater Cincinnati, they are closed tonight. Now, this once again was detected upstream, so our water is safe. And right now, we are all just working off of those reserves. Reporting live, Danielle Dindak, WLWT News 5.
Danielle.
All right. So the aftermath is coming down.
I was just watching the news before we went on tonight, and there was a guy came on. He said he was doing his expertise in 40 years in like water treatment and all these different kind of chemicals. And he said when they did the burn and how all the chemicals changed and all that, he said he's never seen such negligence in like 40 years. So I don't know. I don't have enough knowledge to really get into it. But
and all of that, yes, that's what a lot of people are saying. I'm not an expert.
No,
you're not an expert, but a lot of people are saying that they did it so they could open up the railway. How absurd, man. How absurd that was. So we have the big train derailment. All those people are suffering.
Yeah.
You have
when it took the thing, was it the government that's coming out there took them 2 weeks to get out there, and then after they did all that, and then it took them 2 weeks to get there after all the damage was there. It's just mind blowing.
Right.
Somebody no-showed them today. Was Biden or who was supposed to be out there today?
I don't know. I didn't hear about that. I heard Trump's going to make an appearance.
And then DeWine, don't get me started on the wine, but
Oh yeah.
he's bought and paid for. He looked like kind of a little Weasley up there, trying to
Oh,
tell
he is.
everybody, yeah, it was
That's
sad.
okay. There was a picture I saw. I think it was on Twitter. It was John Husted, who's our lieutenant governor. It was the mayor of that East Palestine, the EPA, couple of EPA folks drinking water. I mean, they're trying to tell people it's safe, but clearly there's going to be some issues, and we have to.
Yeah.
I don't know. You don't want to over-regulate, because there's those on the far left who want to over-regulate. No fracking, no fossil fuels, no this, no that.
Right.
Just regulate everything. But you don't want to under-regulate where you're going to kill people and allow businesses just to, here, just pop the top on this poison gas so we can get this railway open and fly those chemicals back down your roads again. Railway.
Oh, what about Budapest? What's his name? I always say his name wrong.
Buttigieg.
Buttigieg. Did he ever make it out there, or did he no show?
I don't think so. He's busy saying that there's too many white construction workers out there. So
he did. Yeah.
So we have, you got people suffering up there. You have this priest that gets murdered. There's clergy getting murdered. You have this war where there's untold suffering in Ukraine right now. Untold. I mean, we probably couldn't imagine. I've seen videos that I don't want to see again. Big question, Waylon.
Oh no, what is it?
Why does God allow suffering? Why? Why does God allow all this stuff? If God is loving and God is caring, why does God allow for us to suffer?
Well, I'll put it this way. Depending on how you view free will, a lot of people say, well, why does he let this happen? Why does he allow this? He didn't make robots. He gave us all a mind and a heart to do whatever we want to with. When you go back and you read, and I want everybody, when you go, if you're biblically oriented at all, go back to the first chapter of Genesis. Let me just get it. I think it's the 26th verse.
Let's do it. First chapter of Genesis.
First chapter of Genesis and the 26th verse. Just a few verses. And this is where I go because it's the beginning of the Word of God, and this is where you would go to show that it ain't God's fault. And it's not that he allows it, it's that he has appointed a day in which he's going to make everybody give an account of what they've done. And until then, he's given us free will to do what we want to do. But Genesis 1:26, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion. When God made man, he gave him dominion over everything. He made him a place to live in that same chapter before that verse. He made him a place to live. He gave them everything they needed. And then he made man. And he said, let them have dominion. Well, you jump down to the 28th verse. And God blessed them after he made man. Said unto them, be fruitful, multiply, replenish the earth, and subdue it. Have rule over it. And have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. When God made man, he gave him dominion. God can't lie. He can't say, well, you can have it. Nope, I take it back because you're doing a horrible job. You guys suck. He can't do that. So when you read the 31st verse, it says, God saw everything that he made. And behold, it was very good. So God made everything good. It's our crazy decisions in life. It's our ungodliness that causes these things. God doesn't cause it. God never intended for that to happen. But everybody wants to go back and blame it on God. God, why did you let this happen? He gave his own son to suffer, bleed, and die. So it's not like he can even say, I've not experienced suffering, because God gave his son to suffer for us. So it's just an excuse not to serve God most of the time, or anger or bitterness. But when it comes down to it, it's not God's fault. It's our fault. And then, of course, he's made a day of judgment that's coming to take care of all that. So he has to honor his word. and that's what he's doing. He's angry. Don't get me wrong. He's angry. Um, but yeah, he's letting us make our decisions, free will, and then he'll make us all give an account
So
that day.
somebody may ask this question. So God already knew he created fallible human beings.
Yeah.
Right? So he knew we were going to screw it all up. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Why would he let us do that?
Well, I mean, you first ask yourself, would you rather that God give us life or not? Most people would be like, yeah, I'm glad he gave me a shot.
Right. I am.
Yeah, I'm very glad. I've messed up horribly. And he's still working on me. But I would rather him make a world of free will um, with a reward for what we've done than make nothing at all because he thought that we couldn't handle it. That's the whole concept of being born again is you got to get out of the old nature to get into the new. And that's where the whole challenge comes in with atheism and all that. But if you already believe in God, you can already look back and see that what God did in the beginning was good. We're the idiots that messed it up, and he gives us another chance,
So in the book here, what does it say that we're supposed to do, or what can we do? So there may be somebody out there right now that's going through something that is unimaginable. They never thought this would ever happen to them, right? Death in the family, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
What does God say we do to begin to trust, continue to trust in him? Some people just, I give up, right? There's a lot of give up out there. What can we do to get more into, to say, okay, this suffering that I'm experiencing now of no fault of my own, because there's a lot of suffering out there that isn't our fault. Like we create a lot of fault. I mean, I've made probably people suffer, right? So
me too.
I'm not at fault on this, but I'm suffering. What does the gospel say that we do?
All right. First, I want to say, Brother Brian, I'm glad you're on the show. He jumped in.
Brian.
Hey, and if you see that the little link there, if you want to come on, brother, hit that link. Join in. We don't care who shows up. Just join in. Tell somebody they want to get on here and vent. Get on here.
If you think we're wrong, come on here. Say, hey, Matt, you're an idiot. Waylon, he knows an idiot.
Appreciate that. No, there's a verse I want to get real quick if I can find it. This is 1 Peter, the 2nd chapter.
Was that for Sister Wanda?
Yeah, that was for Sister Wanda there. Absolutely. Keep her in your prayers. Matter of fact, speaking of losing family, she's lost a dear family member. So remember Sister Wanda.
All right.
But 1 Peter 2nd chapter and 19th verse. This might help a little bit. It says, for this is thankworthy if a man for conscience toward God endure grief, suffering wrongfully. So 1 Peter 2nd chapter 19 shows that you can still have a good conscience toward God, and you can endure grief, suffering wrongfully. Just like that priest that got shot, got killed, murdered. He had to suffer that wrongfully. It wasn't nothing per se that we know that he done, didn't deserve it, but he suffered that. What did it say? For what glory is it if you be buffeted for your own faults? So in other words, when I was out in the world being an idiot, when I got in trouble, or if I went to jail or whatever happened, it was because of my own fault, and I suffered that. But it says, but if when you do well and suffer for it, you're serving God, you're keeping the faith. He says you take it patiently. This is acceptable with God. So there's a change of suffering. You go from suffering in the world because of our mistakes, and then you change that suffering. You start believing in God. You're still going to suffer. He didn't take the suffering away, but now you're suffering for a different cause. And that's the whole point. People don't want to change, because then the very next verse says, for even unto were you called, because Christ also suffered for us. That even brings in the suffering of God's own son. So God didn't get around the suffering. He let his son suffer too. And then we're supposed to follow his footsteps. So either way, whether you're an idiot in the world that's just doing crazy things and you suffer that way, or whether you suffer the cross and you change your life and you start following God. You're going to suffer either way. And that's probably, this world don't want to suffer anything anymore. It's like a microwave religion. They just want to say a prayer, everything's over with. They expect everything to be, you know, peachy, rosy, everything's great. And it's just not. The world sucks out there. It just does. And there's a lot of mean, horrible people that will do you wrong.
Yeah,
And
there's
it's
a
not
lot
God's fault.
there's a lot of people that, you know, jump into it. Okay, I got saved. I got baptized, right? I repented. I'm baptized. Now my
Yeah.
world is going to be perfect because I'm following
No.
God. But it's at that point when some may say the devil, the evil one, Satan, whatever, that's when he's going, all right, it's time.
Yeah.
It's time. I got you now. Because I'm
Yeah.
gonna break you. I didn't break Job, but I'm gonna break you.
Yeah.
What do you say? What do you say?
What? And you did that devil pose pretty good there. That was good when you did. Yeah.
I'm even,
but no,
hold on, male pattern baldness.
that's where the horns are. No. But yeah, and that's when you actually begin to realize what it feels like to fight Satan. See, when I was in the world doing all the ungodly things myself and suffering because I was the wrong one, doing things that I shouldn't, you're not fighting Satan. You're feeling the effects of him. He's already got you bound. But when you break loose from that, you start suffering for God and for a different cause. That's when you start fighting Satan. And that's when you actually see how dark it really is. Because when you're in the darkness, before you see the light, you don't realize how dark it is. But once you get
It's a
out
good
of that,
time, man.
and you know what? The good time, Charlie, so to speak. There's pleasures out there. I wouldn't have done it if I didn't like it. You know what I mean? You're the same
Right.
way. I know you've a little while
Sure.
too.
No.
Even talking about Moses. Yeah.
I never did a darn thing.
Okay. Forgive
Listen,
Matt
this
for
is going
lying.
on the internets.
Yeah.
Of course.
I
Yeah,
can.
I was a wild man.
And that's, I mean, and that's the thing. I see people out there that are doing the same things we did and worse or whatever. It's easy to be judgmental and jump on people. That's easy. Anybody can do that. But every time I
Judge
see
not,
somebody,
yeah, least ye be judged, right?
Lest you be judged. Yeah, I mean, if God got us out of it, we have to give him time to get other people out of it. We always think just because we did, everybody should do it that fast, and that's not how it works. It just ain't. And we all grow at different speeds. So, did Brian have a question, or is he?
Here, I'll pop it back up. We're never without the Lord. Go ahead. I'll let you read it.
We're never without the Lord. That is why the Holy Spirit is near. Our Heavenly Father waits on us. We're not waiting on him. The choices are ours to do right or wrong. Yeah, it is our choice. I agree with that. And my belief is 100% free will. And not just free will to come out of the world and be born again, but I believe even that born again creature has free will to say, you know what, I've done this for a while and I'm tired of suffering the cross. I think I'm just going to put it down and I'm going to go back out there in that darkness. I believe it's 100% free will, not just half free will. So,
right.
And that's a whole nother argument. And again, please come on, tell somebody about it, to have these kind of conversations, because you can have disagreements, especially in the ministry. Doctrines are so diverse, but once you get people in person or in an actual conversation, I tend to find that you actually agree with people more than you thought once you sit down and talk to them. Do you find that true?
Yeah, I do. You're always going to have differences. It's like in politics, there's always those few hot button issues: abortion, right? Yeah. Guns, government spending. Okay, you're going to have those hot button, but in between all of that, you know what? I kind of agree with you that, you know, we do need good schools, right?
Right.
We need good roads to drive on. Infrastructure is important. Huber Heights, I'm talking to you. Infrastructure is important. You guys, wake up, Huber Heights. Anyway.
That's it. Mini clip right there. You need to put that on later. That's a nice clip to put on. And same thing spiritually. we agree, most people agreed on you need to repent, you need to turn to God, you need to start following him. Once, I mean, those basics, you could stick on that for years and get along with people. It's when you get in, like you said, the other subjects, rapture, tribulation, the
Oh
millennial
yeah.
reign. There's a bunch of different subjects, but let's get the basics down before
So
you can even start.
I don't want to jump ship here on suffering because I think this is an
No, no,
important
no.
topic because so
Yeah,
many out there are. But there's a lot of. I just want to ask this question real quick. There's a lot of people talking about tribulation. We're in tribulation right now. That's what they're saying because the
yeah.
Lord. What do you think? Just real quick.
Tribulation as far as like a worldwide or like what's going on now?
Like biblically
Oh, I got you.
speaking, like we're in the middle of the tribulation. You know.
Let's see. Um, Let me
Is
get
that
one verse real
is that
fast.
another podcast? I
It
don't.
is, but I'm trying to answer it the short version. Let me see here. I think it's 14, maybe. Let me get it real quick. Yeah, no, 16. 1633. He says Jesus said these things
1630.
I
Where you at?
yeah, St. John 16 and 33.
Okay.
This is my view of tribulation. A lot of people are looking for this great worldwide tribulation. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's going to get worse. If nukes start dropping, yeah, you're in a
Well,
major tribulation. Everybody's in it. But
hopefully you yeah.
no, no.
Hopefully you got
He
saved.
said these things I have spoken unto you, that in me you might have peace. In the world you shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I've overcome the world. So basically, I just wanted to read that as you're going to have tribulation regardless. And there's a persecution that's going to be coming on the church more and more, especially in the United States of America, because we're one of the last to suffer, these type things. But um, a lot of people, there's doctrines of a futuristic tribulation that comes on the whole world for 7 years. That's a whole doctrine. We could get on there, and like you said, another podcast, we could have people come on and talk about it and explain their viewpoints of that 7 year tribulation that's supposed to be in the future. I don't personally believe that. I believe more of, like Jesus said, in the world, period, you're going to have tribulation. I
I like how
believe
you
that
said
that's,
that subtly.
yeah, yeah.
You're like, I don't believe like other people believe. I believe like Jesus said in the Bible.
Right. Yeah. So you got it already. But yeah, I just believe you're going to have tribulation in the world, period. And then those that die in the faith in Jesus, they're overcomers, period. I don't believe in like a futuristic special tribulation. And even the ones that do, they don't really tell you what's going to happen. They just say there's a tribulation coming. So, and if
Right.
and there's going to be people that might be able to explain that better. I don't explain a futuristic tribulation, even though I do believe that in the future there will be tribulation. But you got like North Korea, you got places in China. The
Oh yeah.
Christian world has been going through tribulation for a long, long time. And I forgot how many countries that the Bible Christianity is not even allowed. So that kind of tribulation has been happening a long time. United States, we're just one of the last ones to go through it. So, but it's coming more and more.
Yeah.
But yeah,
The more folks see Christianity as a threat, more as instead of okay, they're going to see there's going to be a lot of people and many people in power that see Christianity as a threat more so
oh yeah,
than
oh
what we
absolutely,
see it as is this is how we get saved, this is how we go to heaven, this is how we live eternal.
yeah.
um I
Well,
don't know.
especially when you hit, and I'm always dogging Smiley, Mr. Olstein. I can't
Yeah,
stand the fella as far as he's not a preacher. I mean, I love him because God made him. There's
sure,
a certain respect there.
yeah,
But as far as a preacher, that cross, he don't preach it. It doesn't exist. There is no suffering in his doctrine at all. There's it anyway. I won't get into all that. But the reason I'm saying that is that him and all the big mega churches, mainstream Christianity is so watered down that with all the new laws coming in with the church tax breaks and all this stuff, they're going to filter in so many rules and regulations in these big churches that they're going to be so corrupted that people won't even recognize it. And then you got these little churches like the ones I like to go to. They might be 15, 30 people, 100 people. They don't have the coliseum of thousands. Those little churches, they'll be easy to knock out toward the end because they don't make big news. Big
Right.
Smiley, these big coliseums, they make the news. All these little churches down on the corner, when it comes time, they'll snuff them out too. So, I believe they're saving. That's my opinion. I believe they're saving them for last because that'll be the easiest.
You think the little churches are being saved for last?
Oh, absolutely. Because and check this out. When the big mega churches, they serve the hippie Jesus anyway, right? Everything's love and embrace everything. What?
Well, I don't want to cut you off on
No.
answering a question to ask another question, but I will anyway. Do you think there's any mega church out there that is teaching the gospel the way it should be taught and leading their people to righteousness?
I believe that they all have just like in the beginning, tree of knowledge of good and evil. He had the knowledge of good, and he also had the knowledge of evil. I believe that the mega churches, they got a little bit of both. They've got some truth, but it's been so corrupted with all the Jesus loves you no matter what you do and everything's okay. It's so nasty that, yeah, there's little bits and pieces of truth that I believe that there's a lot of people doing all they know to do. I believe God sees that. God knows that. God understands that. Because some people, that's all they know. So they get bits and pieces of truth. But when it comes down to it, you get more structured doctrine and a closer walk in the smaller churches a lot of times, not all the times, but a lot of times, because it's more focused on the word of God and not getting in your pocketbook. The mega churches have to get in your pocket to continue to be mega churches.
To stay active.
Yeah, they have to.
And they're paying their preachers a heck
Right.
of a lot of money to come in.
Yeah, obscene amounts of money. I mean, if you want to give somebody some money, that's fine. I don't ever ask for money. I don't charge nothing, whatever. Now, if somebody wants to give me a little piece of money, that's up to them and their church. Get gas money to go preach somewhere, whatever, little things. But I'm talking about the money hungry, salary loving, chasing that dollar bill. They're hirelings, and the hirelings, they water down the gospel because once you preach that straight and narrow gate the way it should be preached, an actual salvation, deliverance, a change of life, the crowd's going to get smaller. And that's what he said: straight is the gate, narrow is the way, few be there that find it.
Right.
Wide is the gate and broad is the way, many are going to go on that one. So yeah, I think Smiley's a big fat gate. There's a lot going in because he's about prosperity and blessings. He's not about living right. So
and Mr. Howard, he needs $1,500 just to show his face. So
you'll burn for that, Kevin. I didn't even see him on here. Sister Vicky, Brother Kevin. Yeah. Hey, Kevin, Brian, Vicky, tell people about these little broadcasts. We need some people on. We need some preachers on. Even if
we're gearing them back up. Okay. We'll be back next Sunday. Sunday.
We're gearing up, but we want people to feel free to come on.
I'll shut up. On. I'll just play with the editing tool and wail it.
Yeah, and we'll have discussions. Seriously, we will, and that's what we want because see, the more people talk about stuff, the more we're going to understand. I mean, that's what it's all about, is getting into it. I mean, whether it's political, spiritual, whatever. We got to talk about stuff and I'm going to give you one, and you guys can tell everybody if you want to. We love you, Sister Vic. Yeah. Okay, your game. Kevin's in. In. We want to talk about some of these things, and a big one, and I'm going to say this, Matt, and the Facebook fact checkers will probably get mad at this, but I love the Facebook fact checkers. Okay?
I do too.
I do. I think they're wrong.
Awesome.
But I love them. And I want to let them know that here's a good question. I'll ask you this, man.
All right.
And then, okay. And then I'll interrupt you to ask another question. Do you believe that a far left? Now, I'm not left and I'm not far right. I'm just a Christian conservative. I don't really label myself with anything. Do you believe a far left liberal can actually even be a Christian?
No,
Yeah, that's touchy. Oh,
no,
okay.
no,
No,
I don't. Not a Christian.
okay.
They
Why
can
is that?
be
You're a judgmental jerk. Why is that?
judge not, lest ye be judged. Okay.
Yeah,
No, I don't. I think there's a lot of far left beliefs, such as, I mean, just look at the basic 10 commandments.
right.
Look at the basic 10 commandments.
Yeah,
Are there supposed to be, is there supposed to be a punishment for the 10 commandments? Is it just damnation, or should we, the people, punish for the 10 commandments? Well, there's a lot of stuff in those 10 commandments that these far left prosecutors are just letting people run free. So
yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, that's one thing. And I come at it on that political perspective. But
Yeah, I
thou
agree with you.
shalt
I don't
not
think they
kill.
can
I
either.
believe this is just my opinion, and people can say all they want. I believe abortion is murder.
Yeah,
Thou shalt
I
not
agree with
kill.
you.
So, I mean,
And
there's a
and
lot of things.
and come on the broadcast if you disagree with Matt about what
Yeah.
he just said. Tell him,
Cut
because
my head
I
off,
tell him
right?
when I think he's wrong, and he's
Figuratively speaking.
Catholic, and I forgive him for being Catholic. Do what?
I said, cut my head off, figuratively speaking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm fine with
Um,
that. I would love to hear that outside perspective. Like, yes, lefties can be Christian, and here's why: because blah 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 blah, whatever. But I don't
and
think so. I don't think they want to be Christian. To be honest with you, Waylon, if they're the far lefties, they don't want to be Christian.
no,
If they worship anything, it's Mother Earth or themselves,
yeah,
or And this is, I don't want to chop them up, but I'm just
no. I mean,
I love everybody. I honestly do,
yeah,
but I
I mean,
don't
and even
like
if you're far
everybody.
left, if you're far left, I love you. I'll sit down and have dinner with you.
Yeah,
But as far as your beliefs and morality and politics and there's nothing there. I mean, I love you, but and here's the big thing. Where do people get their compass of morality? I mean, when it comes down to it, what is the gauge of morality? They don't have, if you're not using this or something, you have no gauge. I mean, there has to be a compass of truth somewhere,
and,
and it's all relative. It's like, well, it depends where you're at or what you no it does. There has to be a core of some sort of way you can get right from wrong. And for thousands of years it's been the word of God, and now I don't know where they're going for it. I have no idea, but it's not going good, as you can tell. So
I say what I say, not to be judgmental. I'm not perfect. Shocker, America. I'm not
right.
perfect. Right? I mess up each and every day. I've messed up today. I messed up yesterday. I'm going to mess up tomorrow, and I don't even know what it's going to be. Right? I'm going to try not to,
Right.
but
Right.
it's something's going to happen. But saying that, yeah, I don't believe lefties want to be Christian,
No.
let alone could be Christian. I know some
No.
would. I mean, there are people who identify as liberal or on the left that could be, but not the
Yeah.
far lefties. Yeah.
No. And the sad thing is they're being raised so far left that they're fighting a losing battle in the beginning. They're being brought up in a lefty world, and by the time they get to be teenagers, it's going to take an act of God to get people to open their eyes to what the other side's all about. And they're being raised up to where if you even think toward the right at all, then you're a bad person. They're
Yeah.
doing everything from changing history to changing morality to changing the compass of what God is. I mean, it's horrible. It's going bad fast. And uh, go
See,
ahead.
in my heart of heart, I consider myself a conservative libertarian. I don't care what you do at your house, whoever it is. You do whatever you want at your house as long as it doesn't affect me and my family, right?
Okay, now I got a problem with you there. Are you ready?
Go for
Me and
it.
Matt's getting ready to have a. I used to feel the same way. I used to feel the same way, but once you say, "I don't care what you do at your house as long as it don't affect me," we all used to say that back in the 80s, right? It's like just keep all that weird stuff at home, right? And then we were okay with that. It was like just don't bring it here. Just hide away. You know what I
Well, I
mean?
can't take them to heaven, right?
No. But then the wickedness just gets worse and worse. Then it goes from say what used to be considered. Never mind. I have to watch what I say so we don't get completely shut down.
Just go for it.
What,
Shut it down, baby.
what used to be hidden in the closet, so to speak, is now proclaimed. It's really proclaimed upon. Yeah. Hey, fellas, that used to be hidden, right? Because it was shameful, right? But now it's came out so far that they're shouting from the housetops, marching parades, and now grooming our children. So it, I get where people were saying, yeah, just keep it at your place, but it never stays. Wickedness never stays at your place. It grows and it festers and it gets bigger, and before you know it, it's parading down your streets. It's infiltrated your schools, and now you're like, what happened? That's my opinion. I mean, you can't do anything about it. You can't stop anybody.
Yeah, I generally don't have those parades on my street, but it could happen.
Right. You weren't in the parade, were you?
No, I don't
We're just having
participate
fun,
anymore.
everybody.
I don't
No.
participate anymore.
But and that's the thing. You can't stop anybody. You can't control anybody. But when you go back biblically to Sodom and Gomorrah, and I'm sure it went in the beginning with Lot. It was like, hey, you guys, that's kind of gross and all. That's an abomination. God don't like that. Stay away from me and mine.
Well,
But before it was over with, when the angels came to his house, they surrounded his house. And it was like, we want to know those dudes. We want them to come out and we want to, that's sick. It didn't just stay at home. It just didn't stay where, locked and hidden away. It was manifested and then it was forced. And that's what they're going to do today. Remember, it used to be tolerate. You would have to tolerate it, right?
Mhm.
Tolerate. And then now it's like, no, you're not going to tolerate it. We want you to embrace it, embrace it and help us and really stand behind us and lift us up. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. It wasn't cool then, and it's not cool now, and it's definitely not biblically cool. And look what it's doing to our kids.
Put this brawling boots on now, buddy.
Did you see the teacher with the size Z breast? Wow. That was sick. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I did.
It's teaching our kids.
Here's what I'll say about all that. So God is love, right? We love God.
Yeah.
God gave us free will.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like we have to extend that. If God's given me free will, and that's where I come in with my libertarian tendencies. See, I'm very conservative in a lot of ways, but I come in as a libertarian tendency with, well, if God gave me free will, then I got to provide that free will. But I also have to be the man of my castle. Things are going to slip up. I'm going to miss stuff at my house. But as long as I'm trying to, okay, kids, do this, do that. Here's this. Tell me about that. Whatever.
Right.
Try to do what's right.
But you don't. You don't have to support it, though, right? I mean, you don't have to support.
No, I don't support things that. I'll say that because maybe I don't remember all of this all the time, right?
Right.
We don't all walk around going, having a photographic memory of what the Bible says and what God wants us to do, but you try to go with what your heart says and what you've learned before. So yeah, I try to do what's right. I don't know if that.
Well, and Vicky just said, I think that is exactly it. I was raised right. You always come back to God. And that's the thing. If you look at the kids nowadays, they're not even raised right. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, me and you was raised, at least you get a butt whooping maybe here and there,
Yeah, I
you
did.
know, get put in your place. But now the kids run the house. They don't get, I mean, they're not even raised. This right here is not even in their vocabulary anymore. And
No.
and you can see the effects of it. So, what do you think on the next one? Do you want to get into a special topic? I tell you what, anybody that's still on there, if you have something on your mind, like whether it's political, spiritual, whatever, tell us, and then we'll do a little prep. We'll get some people on, and we'll get into it.
Yeah. And
did you have anything? Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, if anybody wants to come on, truepodcast@gmail.com, TRUPODCAST@gmail.com. Send me an email and we'll send you an invite before we jump on. But if you're not so sure, we'll still have that invite up there. And then you guys can come on. Whoever wants to come on, we don't really care. If you get mean and start yelling and cussing, I'm going to boot you. But because we want this to include everybody. So if you want to come on.
We've got Kevin in. I'm not sure about Brian. But
I had a guy,
Kevin,
Nick Brusky, or Brusky. He was going to come on. He went down to that revival in Kentucky. He wanted to talk about that, but then he ghosted me. So I don't know what happened with that.
And that revival, I don't know enough about it to really get into it, but any church or young group that's putting on and open doors to worship God, I say go for it. That's good. Now, a lot of people can politicize it and make it, turn it into some sort of a tourist attraction before it's over with. But I think what they're doing is good. And that's, I mean, why not? That's what it's all about. Put God first, and if it makes people mad, that's okay too, because I'm sure you make people mad. I know I make people mad on my broadcast. That's okay. You know what I mean? Just put it out there.
We'll end with this.
Okay.
So I was going to go up to East Palestine or Palestine, right?
Yeah.
And I was going to film for Truman's Town Hall. So you look down here. Truman's Town Hall, right? I was going to go do some film, maybe talk with some people and see what's going on. And then I was thinking, you know what? Maybe the revival down there in Ashbury, Kentucky it was an hour less of a drive. So maybe I'll go down there and film some stuff. Well, that night, I had the next night off. That night, I had a gallbladder attack. So I think that's God's way of saying, leave these people alone, man. And just stay at home. And I don't know. That was I just thought of that. I don't know, maybe.
No, and you're right. And I think we should do our own. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're doing theirs. Why not just spread it and start doing our own? I think it should go on everywhere.
Panera Bread.
Yeah, and I'm going to start putting posts on when I go. I'm just going to study randomly at Panera Bread. If anybody wants to join me, please come and join me. Matt will be doing his podcast. Tell him you got your separate page, right? That was the Truman's
Town Hall podcast Facebook page.
Yes, spread the word. Let us know.
All right. Next week we're going to try to be on about 9:45. And we're gonna keep going.
Kevin, be ready. Start telling people. Get us some people to come on.
I do admit there was a couple football games that kept us from doing live. All right.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Matt, for having me again. God bless you, brother.
Thanks for having me, Waylon. Thanks, Vicky, Kevin. Who else we got? Brian. Yeah. And there's more people that haven't commented, but that are watching. Thank you. And those who are watching later, thank you for watching too. So we'll talk to y'all later.
God bless you.